Jack's school project. The assignment. One Monday afternoon, Jack came home from school with an important assignment. His teacher, Mrs. Wilson, had given the class a project to complete by the end of the week. "Mom, Dad, I have a big school project," Jack said excitedly as he entered the kitchen, holding a piece of paper. "What's the project about?" John asked, looking up from his book. "We have to choose a planet from the solar system and make a model of it," Jack explained. "I want to make a model of Mars." "That sounds fun," Emily said. "But you only have 1 week, so we'll need to plan it out." Jack nodded. "I know. Can you help me get started?" "Of course," John replied. "Let's sit down after dinner and figure out what you need." Planning the project. After dinner, the family sat down together at the kitchen table. Jack took out a notebook and began writing down ideas. "Okay, what do we need to make the model?" John asked. "We need some materials," Jack said. "Like red paint for Mars, clay to shape the planet, and maybe some toothpicks for the moons." "Good thinking," Emily said. "We can go to the craft store tomorrow to get everything." Lily, Jack's older sister, joined them at the table. "Can I help too?" she asked. "Sure. Do you know anything about Mars?" Jack asked. "Yeah, Mars is called the red planet because of its color," Lily replied. "And it has 2 small moons, Phobos and Deimos." "That's cool. I'll add that to my project," Jack said, writing it down in his notebook. Going to the craft store. The next day, after school, Emily took Jack to the craft store to buy the materials for his project. They picked out red and brown paint, clay, brushes, and some small wooden sticks. "Do you think this will be enough?" Jack asked, holding up the supplies. "It looks like you've got everything you need," Emily said, smiling. "Now you just have to start building." Back at home, Jack spread out the materials on the table. He carefully shaped the clay into a ball to represent Mars and then painted it red and brown, just like the pictures he had seen in his science book. "This is looking great," Emily said, watching him work. Building the model. For the next few days, Jack worked on his project every afternoon after school. He added details to his model, like craters and mountains, to make it look more realistic. John helped him glue the wooden sticks onto the model to represent Mars's moons. Phobos and Deimos are tiny, so these sticks will be perfect, Jack said, carefully placing them in the right spots. Lily helped him paint the final touches, making sure the colors were just right. "I think it's ready," Jack said proudly when they finished. "It looks amazing," John said. "You've worked really hard on this." Presenting the project. By Friday, the project was complete, and Jack was ready to take it to school. He carefully packed the model in a box to keep it safe. "Good luck with your presentation, Jack," Emily said as she dropped him off at school. "Thanks, Mom," Jack said, smiling nervously. He was excited but also a little bit anxious about showing his project to the class. When it was Jack's turn to present, he stood in front of the class and explained what he had learned about Mars. "Mars is the 4th planet from the Sun," Jack began. "It's called the Red Planet because of its color, and it has 2 moons named Phobos and Deimos." He showed the class his model and talked about the details he had added, like the craters and mountains. When he finished, Mrs. Wilson smiled. "Great job, Jack," Your model is very detailed, and you explained everything clearly. Jack felt proud as his classmates clapped for him. A job well done. After school, Jack came home with a big smile on his face. How did it go? John asked. It went really well, Jack said. Mrs. Wilson liked my project, and I got a good grade. That's awesome, Lily said, giving him a high five. I knew you'd do great. We're proud of you, Emily added. You worked hard, and it paid off. That evening, the family celebrated Jack's success with his favorite dinner pizza. I'm already thinking about my next project, Jack said, taking a bite of pizza. Let's enjoy this one first, John said, laughing. You did a fantastic job. The Family Garden Project. The idea for the garden. One Saturday morning, the Smith family was sitting around the breakfast table, when Emily had an idea. Why don't we start a garden in our backyard? She suggested. It would be fun, and we could grow our own vegetables. That sounds like a great idea, John said. I've always wanted to grow tomatoes and peppers. I love flowers. Can we plant some flowers, too? Lily asked, excited. Of course, Emily replied. What about you, Jack? Would you like to help? Jack thought for a moment. Can we grow strawberries? I love strawberries. Strawberries it is, Emily said with a smile. Let's make a plan and start today. Planning the garden. After breakfast, the family went into the backyard to decide where to plant the garden. The sun was shining, and the weather was perfect for gardening. We should plant the vegetables in this sunny spot, John suggested, pointing to the corner of the yard. Plants need a lot of sunlight to grow. And we can plant the flowers around the edges, Lily said. It'll make the garden look pretty. Emily wrote down a list of everything they needed. Seeds, soil, gardening tools, and watering cans. Let's go to the garden center and pick up the supplies, Emily said. We'll need shovels, too. A trip to the garden center. The family drove to the local garden center to buy everything on their list. The garden center was full of colorful flowers, bags of soil, and racks of seeds. Look at all the different seeds, Jack said, pointing to the display. I found the strawberry seeds. Great, let's get those, Emily said, putting the seeds in the cart. We also need tomato seeds, pepper seeds, and flower seeds. They picked up everything they needed and headed back home, excited to start planting. Preparing the garden. When they got home, it was time to start preparing the garden. John and Jack worked on digging up the soil to make room for the vegetable plants, while Emily and Lily planted the flowers along the edges. Make sure to dig deep enough for the roots, John said, showing Jack how to use the shovel. Jack carefully dug a hole and planted the strawberry seeds, covering them with soil. This is hard work, but it's fun, Jack said, wiping his forehead. It'll be worth it when we see everything growing, Emily said, patting the soil around the flowers. Planting the seeds. After the garden was prepared, the family planted all the seeds. John planted the tomatoes and peppers. Jack planted the strawberries, and Lily helped with the flowers. Now we just have to water everything and wait, Emily said, holding a watering can. Plants need water every day to grow strong. They all took turns watering the plants, making sure each one got enough water. I can't wait to see the strawberries grow, Jack said, smiling. Watching the garden grow. Over the next few weeks, the family took care of the garden every day. They watered the plants, pulled out weeds, and watched as the tiny green sprouts began to appear. Look, the tomatoes are starting to grow, John said one morning. And the flowers are blooming, Lily added, admiring the colorful petals. Jack was especially excited to see the small strawberry plants growing. I can't wait until we can pick them, he said. It won't be long now, Emily replied. You've done a great job taking care of them. Harvesting the vegetables. After a few months of hard work, the family was finally able to harvest their vegetables. The tomatoes were ripe and red, and the peppers were big and green. Look at all these tomatoes, John said, picking them from the vines. We're going to have a lot of salads. Lily picked a bouquet of flowers to put in the house. These are so pretty. I love how our garden turned out. And the strawberries are ready, too, Jack said, picking the bright red berries. The family gathered all the vegetables and fruits they had grown and took them inside to prepare a fresh, homemade dinner. A delicious meal. That evening, the family sat down to a meal made from the vegetables they had grown in their garden. Emily made a salad with the tomatoes and peppers, and Jack shared the strawberries for dessert. This is the best salad I've ever had, John said, taking a bite. It tastes even better because we grew everything ourselves. I agree, Lily said, smiling. The flowers make the table look beautiful, too. Jack was proud of the strawberries. I can't wait to grow even more next year. The family enjoyed their meal together, feeling happy and proud of their hard work in the garden.